Good morning and welcome back to the Festival of the Unexplained. I hope you've had a fantastic Saturday and also running through the night from Saturday evening as well. So my next guests, one of them doesn't need any introductions really, because he started his career very early with Scream Team, which then led to a stint in the very early days of Most Haunted. And now he's teamed up with his wife and they are a duo who produce a show called Are You Haunted? So I'm very pleased to welcome Phil and Sara Whyman to speak to me this morning. So thank you both for joining me.
You're welcome.
Hello.
So as we touched upon there, you know, Phil, you started in Scream Team quite a long time ago. I say a long time, it doesn't really seem that long, does it?
No, it doesn't, but it's actually 18 years, 2002. So that's why I've got the white hair and my beard now and everything.
I know, it just seems like we're all around the same age, and it kind of thinks, you know, when you say 18 years ago, you kind of sit there and think, actually, it doesn't seem that long ago, but it is, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But where did it go? That's the thing. Where did that time go?
No, and you know, you've got a son nearly that old, haven't you, as well? So it's kind of like, you know, he must have just been a baby when all of that was going on.
Yeah, he's 18 now, so yeah.
Wow. So yeah,
that's quite scary in itself, to be honest.
You don't look old enough, Sarah.
Thank you.
But yeah, you obviously then proceeded to Most Haunted in the very, very early days. But then obviously now you guys have joined together and do Are You Haunted? And I've got to say, thank you so much, because, you know, you're actually giving an insight to people, which, forgive me for saying this, is not entertainment purposes, even though we have to state that, don't we? Mm-hmm. But it's great because you actually see what happens on a real investigation, and there is no airs and graces, and it's just a fantastic show to watch.
Thank you very much.
That's what we're proud to be.
Now, I know you guys are busy editing. Is it season 3?
It's season 2, end of season 2, and we're still kind of putting the finishing touches on our Halloween special. So
yeah,
fantastic. So talk to me about season 1 and talk to everybody else about it. What were your highlights of season 1?
Oh, crikey.
I think the biggest highlight for me really was just actually getting it out there, finally getting it out there, because it's been in my head for a long time. And the response that we've got from people like yourself that are involved with the paranormal, that was my biggest fear when I put it out there, that I was so not frightened, but nervous, should I say, of the reaction that it would get from other people in the field. And I think because we've had such a good positive reaction from people in the field that are out there doing it themselves, that was the biggest thing for me, I think.
Yeah. I think we wanted to put out, I mean, it's Sarah's concept. I mean, people for some reason associate me with the guy that created the concept.
The name that
because because people obviously know my name, but it was actually Sarah's concept. And we started out wanting to make a show that would kind of give a glimpse of how we do things as a kind of a proper investigation technique, if you like.
Yeah.
But also wanted to make it entertaining as well, and we're really pleased that seems to have happened. So
you don't usually see that, do you? You don't usually see the kind of, you know, how well a team actually bonds on an investigation. You don't usually get that from other programs that I've watched. Obviously, you can see people have their own individual styles and they've got their own individual roles. But on Are You Haunted, you do see that kind of fun, jokey element as well between you all, which is really lovely to see.
Yeah, that was like the concept really of it all, because going back in the day, that's where I began, was just a bunch of friends that got together and went out investigating. And then we spent many years doing like paranormal events with the public and taking members of the public. And although I loved it and I got to see some fantastic places and traveled all over the UK doing it, it kind of took that little bit of fun element away that we had originally back when it was just sort of 5-6 friends that went along and had a good night. So the concept sort of, it was born from that. What I wanted to show was the relationship between the friends, because everybody that's on the show, we've all been friends for years now. And I think that's the difference with TV, is that you get a lot of people are kind of thrown into a program together that maybe just didn't really know each other properly.
And you don't see each other outside of the program. So
it was a relationship that we wanted to get across the banter and the ups and downs, and maybe a little bit of a sort of fly on the wall kind of feel to it, as well as the investigation. And then we kind of said, if nothing happens on the investigation, which we all know is, you know, quite common, that people would still enjoy watching for us and our relationship together.
And I think that's good, because the relationship kind of shows as well, you know, there are some expletives and some, you know, some choice words, but that's usually what happens between friends, isn't there? And I mean, you know, one of my best friends, Rachel, she was part of Phantasmic with me, and the amount of times we used to butt heads about things, and I'd say, do you think that says this? And she'd be like, nope. And you get that on camera, and you'd be like, I've got to edit that out, because and I used to sit there and say, oh, people don't want to see that, but they do. They want to see the reality. They want to see, you know, just how everybody interacts with everybody, but also the locations as well.
Yeah,
you can't just present it in a constant positive, happy-go-lucky, everybody's getting on routine kind of way, because that's just not how it happens.
It's not normal though, is it?
No,
you know,
exactly.
You can't turn up and put on a smile for everything all of the time. Everybody has an off day, and we all know spirits react with people in different ways, and you never know what's happening, do you? So season 1 took you up to North Yorkshire and down to Suffolk. Now, tell me about some of your places that you investigated, and what were your memorable events there?
You want to go first with that one?
I think, as you probably gathered if you watched the episodes, I do love a theatre. I just love the feel of a theatre and the stage, and just the fact that so much emotion will have taken place and coming in from the audience. So I do love to bring a theatre to the table. But then we had places like Thorn Workhouse, which are very kind of an underrated place, that it's on the paranormal map, but it's very tiny, and you know, not many people had heard of it at that point. So it's nice for me to bring places like that into the forefront, you know, because the unknown places have a lot of activity in there.
And we certainly enjoyed ourselves at
that was a brilliant
at Thorn Workhouse. So
what happened at Thorn then to let everybody just go into it? Obviously they can watch your show on Amazon Prime, but obviously for those, you know, for the people over in the US who are currently probably watching this, and also, you know, people who aren't very well known, you know, like these smaller up and coming paranormal investigators who don't have, you know, don't really know of the likes of me and the likes of you, you know, where you know, what would you say was your best investigation, your most memorable event at Thorn?
I think
there's I'll explain this bit because it involves Sarah and our son Ben. There's a little corridor which leads to I think it used to be an old kitchen area, didn't it? And sorry, I'm just catching the with my foot there. It's not paranormal. And they were doing a little vigil in there, and Ben heard a whisper, and he absolutely
he
heard a breath. Not a whisper, he heard a breath. And we could actually pick it up on camera as well, so you see it in the episode. And he actually scared him to death, didn't it?
Yeah, he said he didn't run. But I think he did was he's actually grabbed me like this and gone behind me as if to sort of push me forward.
I think he was trying to sacrifice his mum to whatever ghost. And
I just quite ashamed by it, but you get that fear factor, don't you? And because I thought he was legging it, then I was off as well. I thought, I'm not staying here if there's something.
You have that one moment sort of thing to sort of.
We've got no idea where that breath came from at all.
No, and for me, I think it was a door on the end of that corridor, and the door handle was going up and down. And we were in another room at one point, and we'd shut that door, and we can quite clearly hear the door open. And it's just really fascinating place. Loved it there. Yeah,
there's another section in that same particular area where Dale and Jane, who are team members, actually went in there, shut the door. And as Dale was basically saying that he can see something blocking out the light at the keyhole. The door actually come open, like somebody pushed it open, and they absolutely wet themselves, basically.
Yeah, that was a fun moment.
That was a bit of a scary moment.
But it's good when people have those experiences, though, isn't it? Because personal experience, we've talked about this all the way throughout the festival. Personally, you can't fault your own personal experiences, can you? You can when you've got a spirit box, and you can when you have, you know, any form of technology, but your own personal experiences are the ones that stay with you, and you always talk about them, don't you?
Yeah, and that's really what we wanted to bring again with the show, is we wanted to strip it down back to basics, so that we were experiencing things for ourselves and not through a little box that kicks out a load of static and noise and words. You know, for us, it was about personal experience. We find that if you hear or experience something with your own ears and your own eyes, that would be more exciting than coming through a device that you're holding in your hand.
Yeah, it seems more real.
Yeah,
I think.
But I think a lot more paranormal investigators tend to start going back to basics, though, now, haven't they? They're kind of ditching their well-known spirit boxes and, you know, all this technology to go back to basics and using, you know, their own like dowsing rods and things like that. You know, do you find using the technology may hinder an investigation?
Yeah, and this is the reason why. I mean, every public event that we did, I would always stand at the front, in front of everybody, and just explain what these pieces of equipment are that you can use if they wanted to, and also explain the theory behind it. But at the end of it all, I would also state that none of the equipment is designed specifically for detecting ghosts. So that kind of leads on to why we're using it in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think there can be too much emphasis and time spent analyzing bits of kit, looking at, you know, screens and waves and etc., and to the point where you actually miss what's going on because you're concentrating so much. So we did away with all that, and lo and behold, you know, we're getting bits and pieces virtually every time we go to an investigation. Fair enough, it might not be massive, it might not be like things moving across the floor or something walking in front of the camera. But when you do paranormal investigations, you learn to accept that the smallest bit, after you've been hanging around for hours and hours, the smallest bit of possible paranormal activity is fantastic, regardless of how many times it happens.
Yeah.
And like we've said, haven't we? You know, I would rather watch a show that hasn't got, you know, minute after minute of, you know, things moving. This shadow figure was caught on this, and I would rather have absolutely nothing on camera, so long as that was a controlled environment and we know that, you know, there was nobody else that it could be attributed to. I would rather watch something with no activity and watch how people use their own investigative skills, and you know, that's basically what you guys do, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think that's how it should be, really.
Yeah.
I mean, again, and that's why we put the show together, to kind of compensate for things like that happening with the team that's involved with it. Because if we're not getting an awful lot of activity, as you know yourself, you can go on for hours, then there's that banter and camaraderie with the team, which keeps people watching still. So
but that in itself can produce quite a lot of activity, can't it? You know, people, they like to watch people having fun, don't they, and laughing and joking and even being stupid. You know, I mean, you know, we've investigated farmhouses just in North Yorkshire ourselves, and, you know, we were acting like absolute idiots in there. And, you know, literally, I put a voice recorder on a gramophone and walked away. And I said, oh, you can talk to me if you want to, you know, but I'm just going to walk out of here. And all I heard there was, I'm here. And literally you heard it. And it was a man's voice, and there was only 4 girls in the house at the time.
Yeah, but stuff like that is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
And the girls were just laughing their heads off, like setting up all of the cameras and everything. And I just thought, this is a bit strange in here. I'm just going to leave that. But I think it works anyway. I do think it's a fantastic way of investigating as well. So you guys are actually from the same area as where I'm from. So God's country, as we like to call it, you know, good old Yorkshire. Which is your best location in Yorkshire to visit?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one to ask, isn't it?
Oh,
that's a real. I wouldn't say that I've got a favourite, but I'll say that I really enjoyed doing National Coal Mining Museum at Wakefield, just for the pure uniqueness of going down into an old pit mine, and
450 feet down underground.
And having that opportunity to do a paranormal investigation down there. Fantastic.
Yeah, because they've stopped them, haven't they? Now they don't do any now.
No,
I think we were very lucky to get it. I think
we did it twice, didn't we?
Yeah, we did it twice, and it did feature on a well-known show. I don't think anybody else has done it.
No, I don't think that.
I think that was it. So.
Well, it does sound like you were very lucky, because that is one place that I would definitely love to do.
Have you been in there?
I've been in when my son was quite young, and he didn't want it. He wasn't old enough to go down into the shaft. But I think I'd like to go, but I'm a scaredy cat. I don't like being in enclosed areas. Yeah,
no, it's not. I thought it was going to be really. I actually thought the same as you. I thought it was going to be really enclosed, but it's massive down there.
The worst bit is the lift going down, because you go down in the miners.
You go in the cage. Yeah.
And that kind of scared me a little bit.
Loads of room down there. You're not cramped in there at all. It's really surprised me how big it was down there.
No, well, I
think something quite exciting in there as well. Do you remember we had members of the press with us on one time that we went, and there was a long sort of tunnel, and it had got the corrugated metal leaning up against the side of the wall, and there were a few team members and members of the public, because it was a public event that we were doing, and these reporters from the newspaper, they were looking down this long tunnel, and one of them said, "What's that light?" And as they were looking, they could see that it's like a glow, and it came from the wall, from out of a solid wall where this metal was, and it came
across the tunnel and on the other side
into the other wall
where there was no entrance. So it's just weird.
And they thought, well, maybe there's something that behind the corrugated metal that could have caused it, and they went and looked, and it was just a solid wall there, and the press even seen it as well, so that was quite good.
Wow, because that's what they used to have, the little paraffin lamps, didn't they, back in the day? And if anybody's ever goes around Yorkshire, all these little village miners welfare clubs and things like that, they still have all like these little memorabilia, don't they? And they have it dotted about everywhere, and it is lovely to see. But it is somewhere that I would love to go to, and I think a friend of mine's father actually works there. So yeah,
you have to get in touch with them, see if they'll let you down.
Well, they've just let Jamie Redknapp and Freddie Flintoff down there, so if they'll let them down there,
they'll let anyone down nowadays, don't they?
Well, you can only imagine if it's those three. They film lads shows, don't they? So if they're down there, then you can only imagine what they're getting up to. But anyway, so other Yorkshire areas. Have you ever been to Wentworth Woodhouse?
That's one place that we've not done.
No, we've not done that.
No.
Yeah, I think that's another one that is probably on my bucket list in the Yorkshire region as well. Which is the one place that you've investigated over and over and over again and seen so much activity there, but it's different each and every time?
I'll let you answer this one.
Crikey.
Probably Peterborough, isn't it?
Peterborough Museum, probably Peterborough Museum. We've done that many times.
Countless times.
We did 30 East Drive. We've done 30 East Drive about at least a dozen times.
Yeah.
But I think Peterborough Museum was the one venue where we did numerous times, and we always used to get a good night down there.
Something always happened, and it always tended to happen. When you've got a public event and you'd have like that one person that's really into the paranormal, and they've got a partner that's not, but the partner comes along just because the girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever it wants to go. It always happens to that partner that doesn't believe anything, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true. We had a guy who was in the army actually, and he just came down to accompany his girlfriend. He wasn't really interested in anything like that, and he was upstairs in one of the areas which had at the time a mock-up of an old Victorian shop. So it had the bay window with all the things in the window, and he said he was just stood there hanging around, kind of in the ambient light, looking at these articles in the window, and then he became aware of a little girl stood next to him in the reflection, and he came down to us and he's like, "That's it, I'm a total believer." Didn't believe any of this now.
He was in a bit of a mess.
He was in a bit of a shock.
Yeah,
he says, "I only came down to accompany the missus." I was like, "But yeah, that shocked him."
Yeah. And that usually happens though, doesn't it, to these skeptics? I know my partner's a skeptic, and you know, I've taken him to East Drive and he was like, it's just a house. It's just a house. And I was like, but when you've investigated it as much as what you have and I have, I mean, you've said a dozen times, you know, it is probably about 10 times for me as well. But some nights have had absolutely nothing happen. And then other nights it's just been off the scale, you know, voices where 3 people have heard it and the other 3 people haven't. It's just, it's madness, isn't it? But have you had any experiences there that you obviously you can't explain, or with any of the team that they physically cannot explain?
We had a couple of incidents off the top of my head that I remember. Upstairs in the bedrooms, there are some plastic balls which people have been using for like trigger objects.
Yeah.
But downstairs, when we were doing a seance, apparently one of these balls just appeared in the middle of the seance on the floor. In the group seance, it was in a circle, which is a bit strange. Nobody knows where it came from, how it got there, etc. It just appeared in the middle of the floor. And then another incident was I was sat in the living room area, which obviously you can go through to the kitchen from.
Yeah.
Kitchen dining area. And I was asking for anybody there to give us a sign or indication of their presence. And there was this knocking sound, quite distinct and quite solid knocking sound. And I suddenly become aware of it because that instant, I heard it, but I wasn't really associating it with something paranormal until I kind of tuned into it. And it was coming from the side of the piano, because there's a piano in the dining room kitchen area. And it was a solid knocking on the side of the piano. And I just, to this day, I cannot explain what that was or what was doing it.
It's really loud, wasn't it?
It was really, really loud. I mean,
we were in the kitchen, myself and Dale at the time. Dale, that's on Are You Haunted? We were just making a brew in between sort of vigils with the public. We didn't have that big a group in there. You can't have a big group in there, can you?
No, tiny. Really.
So we'd sneaked off to the kitchen to sort of make a cup of tea. And there's this knocking on the piano, and you shouted through, "Is that you guys?"
Yeah.
And we thought it was them because it was literally right behind us. So that was a bit weird, wasn't it?
A bit weird, that one.
Yeah, I remember one instance with a good friend of mine. She and her dad came on the investigation, and it was a bit of a nightmare from the start to finish, really. We had to climb through the front windows because there was nobody in next door to give us the keys, but she said all the windows open, which I found hilarious. So it looked like we were actually breaking into the place. And then just like halfway through the night, I was sat next to my friend Carrie's dad, and we were just having a chat about things. And all of a sudden, Carrie's face was an absolute picture. And she was sat in the small brown rocking chair. And she was just sat there lounging away. And all of a sudden, her head went back. And then she sort of like started to rise from this chair. And I was like, "Are you all right?" She was like, "Oh my God, somebody's got hold of my hair. Somebody's pushing me out of this chair." And I was like, "Are you joking?" She was like, "No." And literally she was drip white and she had really long blonde hair. And she said, and I watched her head go back, and she said, somebody's tugged on her hair and literally pushing her out of this rocking chair. And she said, "Never again will I go in that house."
Crikey.
Is that the rocking chair in the living room?
Yeah.
In that corner?
Yeah, when you go in, because it's usually next to the TV, but it wasn't this time. The chair that usually sits in the corner had moved, and that was by the TV. And then this rocking chair was just right by the glass doors. But we also had another. I don't know whether you ever had it, but we had a door. Everybody was in the living room. There was 10 of us in the living room. And we were all calling out and what have you. And we were doing this EVP session. And there was one girl, and she was constantly saying, "That's this, that's this." And it was like, right, okay, you know, there's only 10 of us in here. We can all be quiet. You know, you don't have to keep saying, you know, this is going on. And she asked a question, and I don't know whether it was me, but I automatically felt this surge of like anger. And it was like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden with that, you watch the door handle go down on the living room door, and the door opened from, you know, the glass doors.
Yeah.
The door handle came down, the door opened slightly ajar, and everybody just went. and literally it just slammed straight shut. And it was so loud that everybody jumped. And I you know, when you just feel that like something's going to happen, but I feel like whatever was there with us that night just didn't want her to keep on saying, you know, oh, this is this. And it's like, oh, even somebody else is telling them to shut up now. But you know, East Drive is a very, it's a very compact location, isn't it?
Yeah. That's one way to describe it.
I say compact with the, you know, diplomacy as what it's intended. It's a 3-bedroomed house, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what, you know, which room would you say would be the most active in your opinion?
I think personally for me, I think the main bedroom, you know, the bedroom that had the wardrobe in and the dolls on it in a big kind of mirror, that one there. I think it's basically the middle of the 3 because it's they're like in the line, aren't they? Kind of there's one there, and I think it's the middle of the 3.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. What activity did you happen? What happened in there?
Oh,
I don't know what's wrong with me.
We've had all sorts of stuff in that particular room when we went in with members of the public on an investigation event. And they were like picking up on an old lady that was in there. They were hearing people's voices. I think one of them was not. This is not happening all on the same investigation, by the way. One of them felt something pulling them on their arm. So compared to the other rooms, I think that had a lot more activity for us when we've been. So yeah.
So what made you, Sarah, come up with, obviously I'm going to go back to Are You Haunted and the filming styles that you guys use. What prompted you, and obviously you say you had the idea and the concept for quite a long time. What prompted you to say this is the right time for us?
I think at that time we were doing the public events. We were kind of thinking that we wanted to round it up because, you know yourself, when you do public events and you're working as well, and it's just so exhausting. And it's like I said, although I loved the fact that I could get to all these different places all over the country, it would just get into a point where it had taken away that fun element away from it.
Yeah, you fall out of love with it, don't you, sometimes?
Yeah, driving home at like 4 a.m. in the morning, and you're just wanting... I don't know. It was just too much, I think, week in, week out. And we started doing events a long time ago, wasn't it? Many years ago. And we've been doing them for a lot of years. And a lot of events companies just seem to spring up left, right and centre as well, didn't they? There was just in the beginning, there was really only about 3 of us that were doing it. And so I just thought, we'd got all these people that kept saying to us, oh, you should make a show, you should make a show. So I had a bit of a challenge for myself, whereby people would say also that you couldn't ever make a paranormal show without faking things to entertain. Yeah. And that's what I sort of set about to do with Are You Haunted? Because we had so much fun being just a small team of friends, I wanted to bring that to show that you do, you can still watch something and be entertained by it without all the entertainment being through faking.
Yeah,
that makes sense to you. Yeah, I wanted to do it that way. So we kind of round up the public side of things, but I would never want to give up the paranormal altogether. So it was just a good time to do it, wasn't it? It was a good time to sort of say, well, we've had this idea kind of mulling around, but we've never had that time to do it. So let's do it now.
How long did it take you to come up with the concept, though? Did you kind of have an idea of what you wanted to produce before you actually wrote it down?
Yeah, I think, like I say, I think the sort of the bringing the friends together, that side of it was already in place. Going back years ago when I had my own paranormal team, what I used to say to my team is we'd all set out to find somewhere to investigate. So they'd all have that challenge as a person to go out and find somewhere because we just wanted to investigate. And that kind of stemmed from there, that we'd each bring something to the table and then we'd choose which venue we actually ultimately went to. And I thought, well, that would be quite a different spin on a paranormal show to what's out there already at the moment.
And do, you've obviously been, I know you've been friends for a long time. Do you go to some venues that aren't well known, like private cases or, free, like outside venues? Like I know we've got the Stocksbridge bypass near to where we are. And I know a lot of people investigate that, and they also investigate Wombwell Woods quite a lot. Have you been to any places like that and investigated?
Well, I think Stocksbridge was my first ever investigation.
That's madness.
And so it's quite strange that you brought that up. But Phil's never been, and I've been a couple of times. And it is a really eerie place, isn't it? Have you been?
Yes, I have been over and over again. The first time I think I passed my driving test there. And as I was driving down, I was with another girl in the car, and I said, "This is supposed to be haunted." And she was like, "No, it's not haunted." And I said, "It is haunted." I said, "But I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to drive." And we drove, and literally a split second, the car just cut out totally. And she absolutely wet herself. She was like, "Just take me home. I want to go home. I want to go home." But then, Stocksbridge for me is one place that I'd probably want to spend a little bit more time and go and investigate it.
It's quite fascinating. You love it as well. Like the story behind it is fascinating in itself, isn't it? Yeah,
it was on Strange But True, and another one, Ghost Hunters, not the American one, but there was one in England in the late 90s called Ghost Hunters. It's presented by William Woolard, and it features on there, and it's like a fascinating kind of chat with the people involved and recreations and that kind of thing. So it's really interesting.
We are quite lucky, though, aren't we, that we do have these areas that we can all investigate. Wombwell Woods, anyway. I don't know whether you've investigated there at all.
No, not been there.
Oh, my goodness. you definitely need to go to Wombwell Woods. It is.
Do we need to go at night?
To be honest with you, I think you can go anytime. I think you can go anytime, but there is some stories behind that as well, which I'm not going to tell you about because power of suggestion, etc. It just kind of puts it into your thought process, and I don't really want to do that. But obviously, if you've got a researcher, tell them to research, but then obviously don't, go and experience it, because it is, people have told me previously that they've had sinister experiences there, and I thought, I'm going to go myself and have a look. So we went and camped out there overnight. Well, it had nothing on the Blair Witch Project. That's all I'm going to say. So that might be one for your next series.
And this is sort of jogging something in my memory. This is not something to do with a possession, is it? Yes or no, is it?
Perhaps. Perhaps. Now,
is it
oh God,
is it to do with a guy from Ossett?
No, it's actually a gentleman from the Barnsley area. But the way that he died was horrific. And that is the only thing that I want to talk to you about it, because I think it would be amazing for you to go and see it. But the only thing that I can say is when I did the audition for Celebrity Haunted Hotel, we took the producers there, and literally I said, "This is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a gentleman. He's got a red corduroy trousers on, and he's got a blue denim shirt on." And just as I said that, Rachel took a picture, and on the picture you could clearly see this misty outline, and it was exactly the same colours that I'd said. And the producers actually verified it there and then, and they couldn't believe it. And then I said, I've got pains, obviously, in my lower legs and things like that. And that just kind of, when I didn't know any history about it, but when we started to look into it, everything kind of made sense. So it's a very, very interesting place. But there's not just one section of the woods that is haunted. There's quite a few there. So when this goes out, this will be the next big thing. I think everybody will be in Wombwell Woods. Yeah. So sorry, Barnsley Council. COVID situation and all that, you're not allowed to go. But yeah, it's, there is some awesome places. But have you ever visited Nostell Priory?
Only,
Yes.
yeah, but only as kind of a picnic day out, that kind of thing.
Yeah, dog walk.
Dog walk, yeah.
Yeah, that's another beautiful place, though, isn't it? Which
Yeah.
is, it needs investigating, though. That's the only thing. But with it being
lucky to get in there.
Yeah.
I know you're lucky to get in quite a few places, though. Now,
yeah.
So season 2 has seen you back out on the road. So tell me more about season 2.
Go on then.
Okay, I seem to be doing all the talking here.
No, you're not at all.
It feels like it. Season 2, we've kind of moved things around a little bit with season 2. Cause we, like any program, I guess we're evolving a little bit, and I tend to get these ideas that just suddenly come into my head, but that light bulb moment, cliche, but it's true. And I think in season 1, we used to do the bringing to the table right at the very beginning, and then we'd pick it. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be better if we did that at the end of the show, so that would mean that people are thinking, okay, which one are they going to pick? And then at the beginning of the next one, we would reveal which one we'd chosen. So we changed things around a little bit, and we brought in reaction cam as well, which was something that we find that when you're in the middle of something and something happens, and you have a paranormal experience, we wanted to capture that moment straight away with how that people's feeling with their emotions. So a little bit Big Brother style, if you like. We put the chair and we just got somebody to sit and talk to the camera and say what's just happened. Or sometimes it might be that nothing's happening.
Yeah, nothing's happening.
But that's what we decided to bring into season 2 as well.
Who's the most funny out of your team then? Who's the most, I want to say scaredy cat, but not obviously. Who's got the most reaction cams? I think that's what I'm trying to say.
I think the most reactive person is Dale.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Because for some reason, as soon as he gets into an investigation scenario, he's on edge, and he's so jumpy. As some of the episodes, if you watch them, will testify to that.
That does bring the comedy element into things as well. Reactions.
Yeah, he does, and he does tend to scream, as in his words, like a girl. So yeah, but then Ben's got his own kind of comedy moments, hasn't he?
He has. Yeah,
and some of those are really funny, but especially when he runs out of corridors.
And I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but have you watched the latest episode that we just released?
Not yet. No, I have been super busy. So I'm going through things, and I've got like bits of pieces to watch for research and things like that. So I'm ashamedly admitting not yet.
No, that's fine. I get that you're very busy, and we've only just released that one, but it is an absolute corker. So I would say if you get a chance, do watch that one. Well, and you'll see another reaction on there from a different member of the team.
Yeah.
I think it's great that Ben's kind of joining you on the investigations, because there isn't an awful lot of young paranormal investigators at the moment. Not that I know of. My children don't have anything to do with it, but my daughter's now saying, I want to see The Exorcist and I want to go and see this. But my son has got no interest whatsoever in it. But I think it's great that you kind of introduced Ben to it, and he's enjoying it, or not, so to speak. But what do you
enjoy it?
He loves it, yeah.
What do you think is going to be the next step for these young and upcoming paranormal investigators?
Christ, I don't know.
Sorry.
Is there a next step? That's the thing. Is there a next step involved in it? I don't know.
Yeah,
we're all ever evolving, aren't we? We're all learning about things, and the new, I want to say the next generation, because that's what they are, aren't they? Then the next generation, like the Dakota Ladens of the world, they're all coming up and doing their own little thing. What do you think is going to be next for them, for that generation? Because we seem to have kind of evolved, haven't we, from the TV shows that we're doing, but you've evolved with that, and you've brought together that reality of being with friends. But what do you think the next step is?
Virtual reality ghost hunts.
Let's say.
Can you imagine that?
In what we're going through at the moment.
Yeah.
Can
you imagine that, slapping on a headset and then wandering around with the people that are investigating? That'd be pretty
That would
awesome.
be
That's
awesome.
quite a good idea.
It's a good idea, that.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Get it copyrighted straight away.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you know, in these unprecedented times that we've got at the moment, COVID is causing people to, you know, stay indoors and not investigate. And that's partly the reason why we wanted to put this together, is to bring the likes of you and, you know, the other paranormal investigators, UFOs, you know, people, all these cryptoids and anything like that, you know, just all together under one roof just for a weekend before Halloween, because, you know, we're all busy on Halloween usually, especially with children and things. But that's the reason why we wanted to have this, and we wanted to do it because of, you know, getting everyone together under the banner of the festival and saying thank you to you all, but also thank you to everyone for staying indoors all these, you know, these weeks and months and what have you. Mm-hmm. But it is difficult at the minute, isn't it? Because you guys won't be able to go out investigating, will you?
We can, but only us as us three.
Only us three, yeah.
Yeah, so
because we're in the same family. So.
That's right, yeah, and especially at the moment now, because in the area that we are in, even though we're literally just over the border from where you are, we're South Yorkshire, and we've been put into more higher restrictions now as well.
We're hitting a tier 3 from midnight Friday.
Yeah, so it has been quite a challenging year, and we were. We'd got so many episodes already pre-filmed, but we'd just got like the roundup and the conclusion to actually do on the episodes, and then we went into full lockdown, which put us on a hold. And we obviously had this like investigation side of it done, but we didn't have the conclusion at the end. So as soon as restrictions lifted on the lockdown, and we were able to get together and do the conclusion, so we're quite fortunate now that we've actually got some footage to edit together.
Yeah.
And a few more episodes to get out, haven't we? Mm-hmm. So, but what happens after that, I don't know. It's going to be interesting for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah. So have you been writing? Have you been doing any more like planning for your next season whilst you've been in lockdown?
We've not really, have we? Well, I don't know, unless you have.
Always searching for the next venue, always looking. Yeah. It's... I think it's important that you don't take your eye off the ball, and I'm, you know, especially with the social media side of things, I always like to make sure that that's kept busy with news stories and things like that.
We have actually got a couple of venues on the back burner ready for all this COVID to blow over.
And I've got another one today, but I've not told you about.
There you go, that's through then. So once that's all, you know, we get the green light to move forward with everything, that's who we're going to be approaching, and some of those venues are absolutely awesome.
Wow, it sounds like you've got everything kind of worked out there as well. But when are we going to see more of you guys? Are we likely to see, you know, season 3 before the end of next year?
Depends on circumstances.
It depends, doesn't it? It depends if we can get out and do some filming.
Absolutely, if we can.
So we need everybody to behave.
Yeah.
And wear your masks
Stay
and stop.
indoors.
Yeah, stop mass gathering, and then.
I've had conversations with the US people, and they're saying that nobody wears masks over there, and you know, it's just like we're on this huge lockdown here, and we're like, I'm over in Wales at the moment. I've been here since the start of the lockdown, and it's, you know, we've just been plunged into a 17-day lockdown, you know, full restrictions, and it's kind of like, what are we going to do? And, you know, but, you know, needs must, isn't it? So you've got to do what you've got to do. And to be honest, I'd rather keep everybody safe. And I'm sure you would as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but just going back to your social media, because I know that you're very active on social media and you do an awful lot on there. How much time do you actually spend? Do you schedule a lot of your posts, or do you spend an awful lot of time sat at your laptops? And
a lot of the time sat at laptops, because we do all the editing and everything as well. So some of the posts are scheduled, you know, like if it's daytime and I'm doing like my day job and things, which ironically I do a lot on social media with. But yeah, it's very important, I think, that you keep up to date with your social media and keep it running. So we've got Twitter, Instagram and Facebook that we run, so I don't tend to go anywhere else. I don't tend to go on the other ones.
But we love interacting with our Facebook followers and Twitter, etc., and we're very appreciative of the support that we have got, because it's absolutely immense. It's awesome. So we like to give bits and pieces back. It's like, for instance, at the minute we're running a countdown to Halloween, and Sarah's putting like little quizzes out, little movie clips that we've filmed, and our competitions and our favorite Halloween movies. So and that's so that people can stay interactive with us and us with them. So
it's always great though, isn't it, to keep your fans, because they are your fans really, aren't they? Even though some of the followers on there are your friends as well, but it's always good to keep your fans engaged on what you're doing and what's coming next, because inevitably they're always going to be asking, when's this out, when's that out? And I know I keep obviously prompting you for season 3, but that's only because I've been told there is a season 3 and it will be out before next year. So I don't know who's well, I heard a knocking not too long ago, actually. It's like, what's that? And I'm in this room on my own, so it's a bit strange. But I know you guys are very, very busy. Sarah, you work a day job, and obviously, you're very, very busy doing your editing and everything else at the moment. Is there any other platforms other than Amazon Prime where we can catch you?
YouTube. Yeah. YouTube. It's strange enough because we do all our premieres on YouTube.
Okay.
So each time we launch a new episode, it goes onto YouTube as a premiere. And the best thing about that is it's shown broadcast kind of live, recorded, but it's broadcast live.
Yeah.
And people who follow the show can actually join us in the chat room on YouTube, because we're all in there at the same time, so they can ask us questions while they're watching, and if they've got a question that something's just happened, they can ask us what that was about, etc. So and again, it's that interaction. It's great to interact with everybody that watches the show.
That's really good that you do that as well, because I know I've only seen you on Amazon Prime because I've got obviously Amazon Prime, and I know there's a lot of paranormal shows on there that I can download. So it's great that you do that on YouTube as well, and you stream that. But do you have a website where people can go to?
We don't really use. It's just a base.
Just a holding page, basically.
We don't really do anything on the website. Maybe we should do a little bit more with it. It's mainly social media that we pay. Yeah.
But we're that busy on social media, that's why we haven't got a website.
Okay, and what's your Facebook handle where people can find you?
I think, gosh, this is bad.
Are You Haunted Official?
Yeah.
Yeah. So at Are You Haunted Official? Facebook.
Okay. So at least people can find you on that. And YouTube, is that the same, or?
It's just Are You Haunted? I think it is.
They'll find us, on there.
Okay, that's fine. But, well, that's all I've got time for right now. But I just want to say thank you both, because I know you're super busy editing and everything. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us on the festival. And I look forward to chatting with you again, hopefully when these restrictions have locked down and you've been Wombwell Woods as well.
Yeah.
And Foxbridge Bypass, Phil, you definitely need to get there.
No, we'll have to do that one. Yes.
But yeah, so stay right there, and we'll be back shortly with you. Okay, so that was Phil and Sara Whyman from Are You Haunted. So if you just missed their on their Facebook, you can catch them at Are You Haunted at Facebook. So, and also their YouTube. If you just search on YouTube Are You Haunted, you will find all of their premieres. So that is it from me from this morning. So I just want to say thank you again for watching us, and also give those guys a like. They're absolutely fantastic, and their shows are real, and that is something that we don't have an awful lot of in this day and age, and it's just lovely to see, to be honest. But anyway, we've got some amazing guests coming up next, so stay tuned and we'll be back shortly.